If we go to the floor, you know what I'm doing. I mean, let's make no mistake. I'll be nominating Donald J. Trump.
So you will definitely not vote for Mr. Emmer on that floor?
I will be going. I told Tom Emmer I won't be the one that would tank him, right? If he can get to 216, he could probably have me at 217. But when it gets to my name and there's 10, 12, 15, I think Donald Trump is their answer.
Why is there so much opposition to Emmer at this point?
I don't know. I mean, he obviously he's people are talking. He's had some issues with the former president. I think some of the comments that he's made in the past. I'm not going to get specific, but I think it's causing him some problems today.
A few moments later.
Tom Emmer, who just got a majority of the Republican conference in his effort for Speaker, has just dropped out, we are told, by our next guest, our friend, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes, the news just broke that Tom Emmer is out of the race for Speaker of the House, and I think it's good news. I couldn't support Tom Emmer. He's a nice guy. He's someone I do like as a person, but I couldn't support him because of his voting record, Larry. We need a Speaker of the House that reflects the values and the views of Republican voters across the country, and they support President Trump, and they support his agenda.
All right, guys, so we got to do an update on the GOP Speaker of the House race. That is a full-blown soap opera at this point, okay? It's like watching The Young and the Restless, As the World Turns, The Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital. You guys all know the soap operas. That's exactly what this is like watching, right? And we have an update because nobody should be surprised that the GOP has chosen their next Speaker of the House designee, and it is probably the most moderate member of the GOP that you can think of in Tom Emmer. Now, if you guys remember, Byron Donalds was running for Speaker, okay? The two most noticeable names on the list, Donalds, who the people wanted, right? Just like the people wanted Jim Jordan, because Byron Donalds actually has a conservative voting record, and the establishment wants Emmer, right? They wanted Emmer because Emmer is the majority whip. He's like the number 3rd Republican in the House, right? And he is, again, very moderate, okay? He's basically almost a Democrat, right? He's like Kevin McCarthy, okay? But he's probably even more moderate than Kevin McCarthy, to be quite honest with you. And lo and behold, that is who most of the GOP selected to be Speaker. Well, why is that? Well, it's very simple. It's because unlike Byron Donalds or somebody like Jim Jordan, Tom Emmer is going to have no problems giving more money to Ukraine and sending U.S. dollars overseas to fight foreign wars, okay? That's what all of this is about, right? The GOP will only select a guy that's willing to go along with the military-industrial complex and their donors, right? That's what is being revealed throughout this whole process. If they actually went with the voters, right, if what the people thought actually mattered, the GOP, again, they would go with somebody like a Jim Jordan or a Byron Donalds. Now, you can see on the 4th ballot, before Byron Donalds dropped out, Donalds got 25 votes. Emmer got 107. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, in the kind of final secret ballot, Emmer defeated Mike Johnson 117 to 97. Now, this is not great. The reason why it's not great is because I think he did worse than Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise in regards to the kind of final vote. And again, he has a lot of votes to make up, right? About 100 votes to make up to get to the magic number 217 that he needs in order to actually become Speaker without Democrats. However, again, there's already about 26 Republicans or so that are coming out and refusing to vote for Tom Emmer, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a clip of the Republicans that are voting against him and some of the reasons why they don't want him to be Speaker. Take a look.
Everybody's frustrated. I think that's a general consensus around the country, us included. Yeah. Republican members of the House.
They want it over with. They want us to clean up the mess.
Mr. Perry, would you be comfortable with Tom Emmer if he's a nominee, given his votes on spending?
I'm concerned about that vote.
I'm a conservative. I came to Washington to fight for conservative values. I can't go along with putting one of the most moderate members of the entire Republican conference in the Speaker's chair. That betrays the conservative values that I came here to fight for. So I hope there's a change along the way. He doesn't have the support in the room right now. Dozens of members that won't vote for him at this point. It's been a heated discussion from members at the microphone. We'll see where we go from here.
So Banks and Emmer, of course, have a history together of he ran against him for whip, and this was a contested race. But nevertheless, Banks had made clear that he's opposed to him, as well as some of the other members who were aligned with Donald Trump. And then another warning sign for Emmer. Trump himself just posted on social media criticizing Emmer, calling him a, quote, rhino, Republican in name only.
Yeah, so speaking of Trump, update here. Tom Emmer's dream of becoming Speaker of the House just got ruined because Trump came out publicly and basically destroyed the guy, said that he does not endorse Tom Emmer, that Tom Emmer's a rhino, and that he is finished. Take a look.
Mr. President, are you concerned about Jenna Ellis' plea deal?
No, don't know anything about it. Don't know anything. We're totally innocent of everything. That's political persecution.
What about Tom Emmer being...
She was a big fan of that. And in order to do something, I guess she made a deal. It's too bad to see it, but no, not at all. Tom Emmer, it looks like he's finished. Looks like he's finished. He was not a supporter. He was a rhino. And it looks like he's finished, but we'll see. You never know.
Do you support anyone else for Speaker, sir?
I'll let you know. I'll let you know. And the trial is going, as you can see, extremely well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Trump said that after he issued this scathing statement right here on Truth Social. He says, I have many wonderful friends wanting to be Speaker of the House, and some are truly great warriors. Rhino Tom Emmer, who I do not know well, is not one of them. He never respected the power of the Trump endorsement or the breadth and scope of MAGA, Make America Great Again. He fought me all the way and actually spent more time defending Ilhan Omar than he did me. He is totally out of touch with Republican voters. I believe he has now learned his lesson because he is saying that he is pro-Trump all the way, but who can ever be sure? Has he only changed because that's what it takes to win? The Republican Party cannot take that chance because that's not where the American First voters are. Voting for a globalist rhino like Tom Emmer would be a tragic mistake. Yeah, so with that being said, again, Trump basically knocked out Tom Emmer before he could even get a vote on the House floor with Democrats to become Speaker. I want to bring in my friend, an old friend of the show, Mario Fratto, who's actually running for Congress to make sense of this current Speaker of the House situation going on in the GOP. All right, guys, so we have Mario Fratto, who is running for Congress. He's an old friend of the show. He's joining me today to give me his perspective on this chaotic drama going on in the House right now with the GOP, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, Tom Emmer just dropped out, right? And, you know, this is just one more event in what seems to be chaos going on in the House, Republicans unable to decide who should be the next speaker. I mean, this literally happened as we were having this conversation. So again, this is a fluid situation. Republicans have to go back to the drawing board to decide who they want to be speaker. And I think Mario can provide some great perspective here in regards to what's going on and also the need to have Republicans in Congress that actually are going to vote in line with their constituents. And I think that's what Mario's pitch is in regards to him running for Congress against Claudia Tenney, who, like Tom Emmer, is very moderate on a lot of issues. And again, you know, that doesn't seem to be matching what the people in their districts actually want. And I think the GOP has kind of exposed themselves throughout this whole process. So again, I want to bring Mario in. He can introduce himself and then give us his perspective on kind of what's going on and how to make sense of all of the chaos.
Yeah, so thanks for that introduction, Greg. Guys, I've been on here before. Mario Fratto. I'm running in New York 24 against Claudia Tenney. As Greg said, I think she's a rhino. She's taken a lot of bad votes. That's why I'm running, because I think the people deserve somebody who represents their views. And this speaker race was a great look inside that for a lot of America. A lot of people wanted Jim Jordan from the jump. If you go back to January with the 20 holdouts against McCarthy, Jim Jordan was a name that was getting thrown in there. Byron Donald put himself out there. A lot of these names are coming back now. And I think what you saw with the Jim Jordan vote, especially, is that when it was him against Scalise, you had the GOP going for Scalise because he was a more establishment guy. And then when Scalise realized he couldn't get there, he dropped out, and Jim Jordan became the only option. And once he was the only option, you had I mean, I'm not going to say a lot, but 100 Republicans who came out and said they voted for Jim Jordan, and then 20 holdouts. And then those 100 who voted for Jim Jordan, when they got behind closed doors, they knifed him in the back to remove him.
Yeah.
And it's because they didn't have the guts to do that in public, so their constituents could see what they're actually doing, because they knew if they voted against a guy like Jordan, they're probably going to get primaried and they're going to lose their seat. So it's one thing in public, it's another thing behind closed doors. And if anything positive is coming out of this, it's that the voters get to see how this process really works, and they get to see who's fighting for them and who's pretending to fight for them. And in this case, I think you can see that all day. And Claudia Tenney was one of those people. She voted for McCarthy 15 times. Then she supported Steve Scalise. And then when they both were gone and Jordan was the only option, she's taking a selfie with Jim Jordan saying, I support Jim Jordan. And behind closed doors, I wouldn't be surprised if she was one of the 100 who voted to remove him.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. I think that, a lot of people are saying that, oh, this is, a bad look for the GOP and that, it's bad for the country, when it's like, actually, this is transparency through seeing how not transparent the whole process is, right? Especially when you're talking about the secret ballots. You got people who in public come out and they say, oh, well, I support Jim Jordan. And then behind closed doors, they're not supporting Jim Jordan. That tells you everything you need to know about some of these guys, right? That they're not real, okay? That they're not actually trying to do what their constituents voted for them to do. And they know it. They know it. And they know the consequences of what happens if they were to come out in public with their real positions. And again, I think that overall it's a positive thing. It's chaotic, but it's positive for people to see just how not transparent this process is through this new speakership, ordeal that is currently happening. Now, I do want to ask you, moving forward, right? Again, we got to assume that they're going to go back to the drawing board again, because Tom Emmer dropped out after Trump laid the hammer to him, right? And basically said, he's finished. He's a rhino. Okay. He should not be speaker, which is just, it's funny because he apparently called up Trump and was trying to act like he was, team Trump or whatever. And Trump was like, I'm not going for it. So again, what do you think moving forward? What has to happen in order for the Republicans to select a speaker? Or do you think the Republicans may end up kind of folding to Democrats by making Patrick McHenry the temporary speaker along with Democrats, or maybe even, I don't know, nominating a guy and just deciding that, this is going to be the uniparty candidate? What do you think is going to happen moving forward? What do they need to do to actually find a speaker?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Look, Claudia Tenney was on Brett Baer the other night on his Common Ground segment with a Democrat, saying how much they had in common. And she actually said, we just need an administrative speaker right now. Let's just put someone in there who can get things done. And that blew me away, because the speaker's right behind the vice president in line to the presidency, right? So you can't just put some rhino in there, some guy, and say, well, it's just an administrative role. This is a serious position, right? So we need somebody who's going to be effective, and also who we would want to lead the country if that situation happens. And I think what happened with Tom Emmer is you actually saw that there was reports coming out that the Democrats were saying they could get behind him because he was one of the most moderate candidates for speaker, and out of the 8 or 9 Republicans with their name out there, Tom Emmer was one of 2 who voted to certify the 2020 election results. So they really liked that. And they said they wouldn't really have a problem with him. And anytime the Democrats say they don't have a problem with somebody on the right, that's telling you that that's probably the wrong guy for us to go with. So I'm glad that it's not Tom Emmer now. And I think Trump's right that at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, he's getting about 60% of Republicans in the polls. He's our last president. He's the last nominee, and he's the leader of the party right now. So if we're going to put a speaker in there, then it needs to be somebody that has his support, because you can't bring the party together. And we have to assume right now that Donald Trump's going to be the nominee again. So I think for Tom Emmer to try and do a flip flop after and say, well, I actually support Trump, it's not real, and I'll give myself a plug here, but if you go to marioforcongress.com, I have a video up of Claudia Tenney talking about these issues. And look, she had Trump support in the past. He campaigned for her. He sent his kids up to campaign for her, everything. And when she's asked right now to this day, are you supporting Donald Trump for president? Even her says, well, I want to hear from all the candidates and things might be different now, after somebody sticks their neck out for you. So if somebody's never stuck their neck out for Trump, why would he even take a risk with him when people he thought were loyal still won't have his back? So I don't blame him at all. And it shows the power that he still has over the party to take the guy who just won behind closed doors. He comes out in public, and before he can even get a vote, Donald Trump says, that's over. That was pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is powerful. It does show the power of Trump. And this is why I ultimately believe that the so-called moderates, and I wouldn't call them moderates because some of these Republicans come from districts that are R plus 10, 15, 20, and they're voting against, conservative speakers like Jim Jordan that their constituents would love to see as the speaker. They're just anti-Trumpers, unipartiers, they're bought and sold by the military-industrial complex. They want to send money overseas to Ukraine and, to fight foreign wars. That is, I think, kind of what's going on here. So, I ultimately think that they're going to have to get in line with what the base wants, or they're going to basically have to work with Democrats. And at this point, it seems like, some of these people would rather work with Democrats than to do what their constituents want. So we'll see what happens moving forward in the future. Impossible to predict. But thank you, Mario, for coming on to the show. If you want to give the audience any last words, how they can check you out, a little bit about your campaign, that'd be great. And then we can wrap this up.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me on again. It's good to be back here. Yeah, guys, please, I need all the support I can get. We had a tight race last time in 2022. We had a 3-way race, got over 40%. We're looking to win this time. Claudia Tenney's a total rhino. She's voted for taxpayer-funded sex changes, voted for amnesty, voted for red flag laws to take guns. She just voted 2 weeks ago to keep giving funding to illegal immigrants that are crossing the border right now, sending money to Ukraine. Biden's inflated budgets, you name it, she's voting for it. And I need you guys' help. So marioforcongress.com is where you can go. Anything helps. And I really think that we can send a message, because there's 100+ members of Congress, just like Claudia Tenney, that they say one thing in public, and as we see with this speaker race, they're doing something else behind closed doors. We're not going to get any change if we keep sending the same people back to do the same thing. So I'd love to have you guys support. Check out the website again, marioforcongress.com. Follow me on Twitter at Mario Fratto. And thanks for having me on, Greg.
All right. Thank you, Mario. You guys like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.